Hey everyone, Brian Von Vier here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today we've got What Was the Best Way You Completely Shut Down an Encounter, Part 2. Our party, level 6 or 7 at the time, entered an empty village surrounded by mist to find some MacGuffin to bring to Plot NPC. The item was just lying in the street. Everything here was screaming trap, but our cleric picks it up anyway. Suddenly, the mist clears and reveals a few banshees, a pair of bone nagas, a handful of gargoyles, and some ghouls or zombies. One of the bone nagas tells us to put the MacGuffin back and leave where they attack. The paladin and the cleric try to tell them that we need that item and we would try to pay for it if they wanted us to. No, the MacGuffin stays where it is. So I decide to take a different path: intimidation. I grab the picked up MacGuffin out of the cleric's hand, ready my axe, and tell the bone naga something like, "Listen up, rattlesnake. Either we can leave with this item, or I make it explode into more pieces than you have bones. Got it?" Roll for intimidation. 17, thanks to proficiency with intimidation, and +2 charisma. We get to leave, but have to bring the plot NPC back to the village. I am lawful good. I agree to bring her into the village. Some sessions later, we've collected all the quest items for that NPC but one. We then head back into the village, but we'd come up with a plan before we got there. We fight them 1v1 in a champion versus champion style battle. Originally, I wanted to do it myself, but the paladin decided he would just cast protection from evil and good on himself once the fight started. We arrive at the village, the undead swarm us again. I tell them to either 1v1 one of us or die trying to take the NPC. They agree to the 1v1 and call forth a wraith. Dangerous, but still undead. I never saw such a one-sided battle. The wraith had not hit once while the paladin just threw 2 level 3 smites at him, killing him in 4 rounds. Afterwards, the undead scatter in all directions, and we walk out with no damage taken. In a one-shot with my lawful good dragonborn warlock, we were coming up on a big bad evil guy that turned himself into a marble in pursuit of immortality. However, this had the side effect of him sending out vines that turned the townsfolk into stone. My group all wanted to attack, but I disagreed. They fired off their starting shots and attacks, etc., and then it was my turn. They had chipped the big bad evil guy's toe after getting a bunch of great hits, fairly powerful enemy. So I cast Mending. This healed the toe. I don't know if it should have worked, but we were low level and the DM loved the idea, which promptly caused the big bad evil guy to have a mental breakdown and revert everything, causing him to transform back into a 150-year-old man who promptly died of old age and a few other things he was trying to escape from. TLDR, emotionally broke a big bad evil guy into empathy. Once we had to fight an aboleth in 5th edition. My friends and I made a huge plan because we were some levels below his combat rating. We traveled with some soldiers that would help us. However, as a lawful evil character, my half-orc cleric brought offers, some herbs and living childs as sacrifice, so we could get the aboleth's help instead of killing it. The negotiations went badly, and the soldiers were useless as they were under the aboleth's phantasmal force. When the fight finally started, I acted first and casted Banishment. The aboleth rolls and, nat 1. Even though my spell DC was low, he failed. At this time, he had tossed the child to the air to eat it, and as he vanished, the child fell and died. With a bunch of soldiers watching, I walked over to the body and cast Revivify. Everyone saw it as a miracle. First the aboleth was just gone, and then I brought a child back to life. After that, I got on my knees and started to pray, thanking my God. Not only one of the best roleplay moments I ever had, as I was always DM, but also one of the battles I feared the most. I was running an epic level Celestial Elven Wizard. Every time I ran into a situation where I would wind up potentially fighting one of my DM's former PC turned NPC that was a planned combat, I would nope on out. It derailed much of the planned encounters as the rest of the party would usually follow my lead. I was playing a Triton war cleric in an evil campaign. The whole party are monster-like evil races, and the long-term goal is to overthrow the current empire. We had recently saved a local villager from some raiders. Being the most human-looking member, I went to the village for information. I found the local mercenaries more or less harassing the villager we saved, along with a priest at their chapel. The mercenaries were demanding information about the raider attack we prevented. I walked right up to them and fully admitted to the deed. I told them I was nothing more than a traveling priest who helped someone in need. The mercenaries then left, frustrated, but promised to keep an eye on me. The DM never asked me to make a roll or check during this encounter. He later admitted that he thought my role-playing was so good we completely avoided combat in the chapel. We later learned that the mercenaries are also pretending to be the raiders, so now we mess with them whenever we can. D&D 3.5 Half-Celestial Fighter Cleric. He was flying about and saw an evil cleric proselytizing in front of his patron's temple, loudly and threatening a child as he was doing so to force her parents to convert. He thinks to himself, this will not stand. So he draws his longsword, flares his light ability, and enters a dive/charge attack on the evil cleric, from 200 feet up. It was midday, so the sun was straight overhead, and no one could see him against it. The cleric was screaming about how the good gods were powerless, and the timing was just too perfect, as he said, "And if they deny it, I dare them to strike me." 190 pounds of mail-clad armored fury, winged and glowing with pearlescent light, basically ruptured through his chest, sweeping the child aside. The evil cleric's holy symbol pierced through on the tip of the sword and nailed to the ground, as my character calmly whispered an orison in the aftermath to clean the blood from himself and said simply, "The gods of light are not to be trifled with. I'll not hold your children hostage to tell you to convert. I simply ask that you do the best for yourselves and your families. Be kind and do well." He then placed his hand on the child, expending a Cure Light Wounds to heal her of her bumps and bruises before ushering her back to her parents. There were more than a dozen conversions on that day, and nearly 100 in the following week. Social encounter with possible lead-in to battle because of the barbarian in the party, of first-level characters. We're in the Red Light District, a band of urchins and beggars rushing towards the party. As a cleric with the acolyte background, I strode confidently forth, smiling and shaking my alms box, looking for handouts. Fortunately, I rolled a 19 on the intimidation check. I've never seen a mass of enemies disperse so quickly. Moral of the story: never ignore your starting equipment and what it can do for you. I also have a little story, not very long as I'm skipping to the point where this happened. We have a barbarian named Karks in my current campaign. He is a fairly average character and is a good bit weaker than our Paladin, but he has one unique thing he does that came about by sheer dumb luck. In our first session, we had just escaped from a somewhat dangerous fight and needed a place to stay. The barkeep we were negotiating with didn't really like us and was threatening to attack us. Karks decided to challenge him to an arm wrestling match. He won us free lodging. But that's not all. Later on, we're in a big port city trying to meet a high-up guy whose gate guard was also threatening us. He was actually kind of scary, but Karks calmed him down by rolling really high on a persuasion check to decide the matter with an arm wrestling match, which he won again. The guard ended up getting fired over his antics, so we decided to kill him since he was being a jerk for no reason. Just imagine some dude getting killed for being a jackass. I love it. Unfortunately, his big, strong, greatsword-wielding friend showed up. "Can I challenge him to an arm wrestle?" Sure, why not?" Karks' player rolls nat 20. The second guard puts away his sword and says, "I guess I can kill you a little later." And the two go out to the courtyard to have an arm wrestling match. Now, Karks is the barbarian who solves problems with arm wrestling, which is frickin' amazing. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA here, back at it again to check in after the vid. Please make sure to stay hydrated and well fed during your journeys around the world today. Now, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell to get notified whenever we post a new video or go live. Also, check out our subreddit, r/MrRipper, where you too can post your stories and experiences for us to read live or in a video like this. And if you want a little bit more goodies, go over to Riptovia, our secondary YouTube channel, for more personalized stories. And if you really want to come see me, Brian Von VA, do so on Twitch and YouTube. Links are all in the description below. With that said, everyone, please, like I said earlier, make sure to stay safe, happy, and healthy, and talk to people. If you need help, go get help. If you need to talk to a friend or a family member, get on your phone, get on your computer, and send an email or send a text. Whatever you can do, but make sure you do not stay by yourself. In times like these, we need to come together. So go say hi to at least somebody in the comments below, because you never know how their day is going to go after you do it. All the love, be safe, be happy, and we will see you next time. Bye.